controversial, as you said. I always tend to be. I think that as African people and the world, we have denied ourselves an opportunity to know who we are, where we come from, why we're here, what is our destiny. Because there is abundant evidence that Africa is the birthplace of humanity. Africa invented writing, civilizations, but because of racism, there is denial on the part of the West to accept Africa as the birthplace of humanity and civilization. For instance, many things that come from Africa are attributed to other people. You have the numerals 1, 2, 3, etc. They will say these are Arabic numerals. You have yoga. They will say it's Indian yoga. You will have religion. They will say no, it's Jewish religion, and so on. So there's nothing that is attributed to Africa. Let me then tell you what it is. That you know Africans from the area of the Great Lakes. That's where humanity originated. Not at Sterksfontein called Marubeni, where you are told that you evolved from baboons. It's not true. It's a big lie. Unfortunately, that lie is taught in our schools. Now, there is information written which says that at the beginning there was nothingness. And from this nothingness came out the one or the good called Tapa or Puta, which is called God. And that one or the good manifested itself as a woman, which means that what we call God is a woman, not a man. But imagine how much money we spend on fighting gender-based violence and femicide. But if we know who we are, and that the woman comes first, because there's no man who can be a virgin father, only a woman could be a virgin mother. And that virgin mother emanated spiritual beings before the universe came into being. And these spiritual beings also manifested themselves as the one at the beginning, plus 9 of them, they become 10. That's why we have 10 toes, 10 fingers. And that Virgin Mother gave birth to 3 spiritual beings, which are manifested by the 3 stars of the Orion belt, and which form a treat and reproduced 4 spiritual beings called the Cherub. In Hebrew it's the Cherubim, in Islam it's the Al-Caribbean. And now, this 3 plus 4 gives you a 7. That's why the number 7 is a holy number. But these 7 spiritual beings manifested themselves as the 7 Pleiades or circumpolar stars. And what happens is, at the beginning of September, when the new moon arises or dawns, the 7 Pleiades stars, which represent the spiritual beings, appear in heaven to tell us on earth that the new year is starting. We must perform certain rituals to prepare for the plowing fields. That's why Africa says the new year starts in September, and those Pleiades stars are called Izilimela in Zulu, Chilimela in Venda, Chilimela in Soga, Chilimela in Kilimela in Swahili. And that's all this primary field here is called Isilim, Selim, and so on. So you can see that our culture is dictated by the heavens, and even the names that we use come from the heavens. So that is the spiritual foundation of our culture, not the secular culture from the West. Now, African people say there is a spiritual world which is immaterial or metaphysical. But when you go to the churches, they tell you that there is a certain old man, bearded, blonde, who is God, and he has angels who are white people governing the universe. This is a lie. It's a creation of people who want to mislead the world. Because what they call angels in the Bible are actually the names of the 7 stars, which is Mars, Saturn, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, and the moon. And the moon is Gabriel. So when they said Gabriel is the angel of God who came to Mary and said you will bear a child, is a fabrication and which misleads the world. But also, if you look at the flag of the Jewish people, 2 triangles mounted on top of one another, that flag removes the center, which is the sun. So there's no God of Israel. Because if you want to have a God, you must have a circle in the center, which symbolizes God. So that you shouldn't be surprised that they can kill women and children in Palestine without even getting married, because there's no God in that religion, the so-called God of Israel. But now, indigenous African people who have never been to school distinguish between the spiritual world and the material world. The spiritual world, between the spiritual world and the material world, we find the zodiac. The African zodiacs are the oldest in the world. What is the zodiac? Lazy people wake up and buy a sweater and they look for their stars and say, I will have luck if I am Aries or I am this. The truth of the matter is that the 12 signs of the zodiac are houses of heaven inhabited by spiritual or light beings called the Shemshu Hara or Shemshu or in Greek or Horus kings. In our language, we call them the lion gods, Wondoro or Wondorondoro, or the cows of God, Wantare or Wantarantare, or the most ancient ones, Bakale or Bakalekha. Those spiritual beings, they control what is happening on earth. They control us. And therefore, there has to be harmony between us and the spiritual world. Because the law says, as above, so below. Which means if there is a disturbance on earth, that unsettles the gods. And that's why today we have a problem. You look at our parliament, people who want to be called honorable members, they are fighting amongst themselves, they are beating themselves with cups of coffee and tea. And then you look at the Pan-African Parliament, they are doing the same. And then you look on the African continent, women and children are raped and killed every day because there is anger in the spiritual world about how we run the affairs of this world. So it means, in our view, that we need a movement, a spiritual African spiritual renaissance movement. And that movement must be rooted in African humanism, Ubuntu, Ubuntu. And the Pope accepts Ubuntu. President Obama accepted it. Many leaders in Africa accepted that because Ubuntu transcends tribalism, racism, patriarchy, and so on. So if we can understand that the law of nature is not based in any religious book, the Bible or the Quran or the Rig Veda, is in us. Because as human beings, our souls emanate from the Son or Word of God, which is a spiritual being, not a human being like Jesus. And this soul descends into the body. So each and every one of us, we have the soul of God. When this soul comes down through 14 ranks, it gathers or inherits virtues, 7 virtues and 7 vices, which constitute the human conscience. So that the human conscience is a duty to tell you what is good and what is evil, or what is right or wrong. So you don't need to read a book to know what is wrong and what is right. It is in you, unless you are drunk all the time. But also, when a soul comes down from heaven, it inherits 3 moral laws from each of the ranks of the ladder of stairs. And now every one of you has 3 times 14, which is 42 moral laws. The 10 commandments in the Bible were taken by Moses. From those 42, he threw away 32. So the Bible is not complete. And when he said God gave him only 10, there's no God who gave him 10 moral laws. He got these things from Egypt. So we are lying to ourselves, or we are being lied to. And as a result, there's confusion in the world. But let me come closer to what I want to say. Today, we have a problem that we don't know, that these 7 planets, or that we call angels, are actually governing our lives. And we are looking for a white man in heaven called God, or we are looking for some white people called angels, which means heaven has been colonized by Europe. And when we die, we are going to another Europe in heaven. But the truth of the matter is that in heaven, only spiritual beings exist, no material beings. So there can be an Indian in heaven, there can be a European in heaven, there can be an African in heaven. They are all spiritual beings. So it means spirituality does not allow tribalism, racism, and all these things. So there's a need for us to start working for the revival of African spirituality. What is the purpose of a calendar? You know, we are given the Roman calendar. The Romans understood nothing about a calendar. When Julius Caesar fell in love with Cleopatra, he heard of the calendar for the first time. He borrowed it, but because the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere are different, they changed it to suit themselves there. Gregory came, he changed it. Now today we are following a Gregorian calendar, which makes us as Africans to walk on our head with our legs up, because when it is winter in the north, it's summer here, and vice versa. Now, unless and until we adopt a new calendar, we are not going anywhere. What would the new African calendar say? Towards the end of April, there are 3 stars of the Orion belt, which represents the 3 spiritual beings. which disappear at the end of April, and then they appear towards the end of June. When the sun enters into the Tropic of Cancer, that is the birthday of the first child of the sun, called Muntu. So that the birthday of a human being is on the 21st of June. I hear contralesers saying they want Ancestor Day on the 8th of May. It's all rubbish, because there's no basis. And then the sun moves from the Tropic of Cancer for 3 months and reaches the equator on the Spring Festival. That is the birthday of the second born child of the sun, celebrated by the Feast of the Cross. From there, the sun moves for 3 months to the Tropic of Capricorn, the birthday of the sun god called Harate or Ate. And in Greek, Harate is XP Ichtoch, pronounced Christos, and which means what we call Christ is the child of the sun, born on the 25th of December. There's no human being called Jesus who was born on the 25th of December. Even the church, even today, they are not even sure of the birthdays of Jesus. They can't tell you, they just fabricated a story. And then from the Tropic of Capricorn, the sun moves for 3 months to the equator, and it dies in the south and resurrects on the third day in the north. And then the church comes and says, there's Jesus who was killed, who died on the cross on a Friday and resurrected on a Sunday. It's a lie. Actually, Jesus did not even die on the cross. It is his cousin Simon of Cyrene from Libya who died there. Now, as I finish, the Africans had that solar calendar, and they also had the lunar calendar. The lunar calendar starts in September, it's New Year, and then October is rain-making, where we thank God, gods, and our royal family ancestors for giving us the rain and the fertility of the soil. And then in November, you don't kill female animals, you don't cut trees, because nature is reborn. In December, you celebrate festivals which are common, and then in March, you celebrate harvest. In May 1, that is the birthday of the Queen of Heaven, Muari or Muari. Muari in Lesotho is Mohale, in Venda is Muali, in Tsonga is Muari, and that's what we call the Most High. Zimu in Ndebele, Muzimu in Venda and Shona, and then Mudimu in Sotho. That's why we have Mahalisburg, Talaja Mohale. So our religion is embedded in our concrete reality, not in any book. We don't even need a book to find God. So the problem, as I conclude, is that those who colonized us are very clever. They create Valentine's Day, which is a commercial day. They create Mother's Day, which is a commercial day. The whole year is populated by false holidays. And now, as African people, we don't fit anywhere. As a result, we have been disconnected from our spirituality. We are chasing capitalists who are using our beliefs and our poverty to make money out of us. You know, for instance, we are taught that when the sun rises, children must wake up before the sun rises, face east, and ask for blessings during the day. Midday, as the Muslims do, there must be a break even at work for people to reflect and listen to themselves. When the sun sets, you face west and then you pray. And when a baby is born, you don't take a child and run in a pram in the street and show people your child. The child is going to get some shadows which will make it crazy. That's why most of our children now are crazy, they have no direction. When the child is born, the child stays in seclusion. And when the moon arises, you take the child. You throw the child 3 times into the air, and you say to the child, meet your companions. In other words, you give the child timing. Banabana and our young people. No, Arsana timing, because we don't follow all those things. We are blunder almost all the time. But just look at the Asian people, the Chinese and the Indians. They have direction. They perform well even at work, at school, because they are rooted in their spirituality. So the call is Africans. We need to be rooted in our spirituality. And, for instance, when I say Africans, so someone will say, we are colored people. Where do you leave us? Colored people are indigenous African people. And if you look at the concept, who have not even gone to school, their spirituality is deeper than the Pope in Rome. But the colonizer had made sure that for divide and rule, there are colored people, there are African people. So I think maybe I should stop here and just say that we have been disconnected from our spirituality. We have been given wrong holidays. We must go back to our calendar. We must actually, like the Muslims do, we must establish our private schools. Luckily now they are going to be ECDs. We have enough and overflow of educated young people. We must develop our teacher-learner materials and then go back to the roots. And that will save Africa and her people. I thank you very much.